fugitives on their way to Mexico. And this is their hot lunch, about to be smuggled out of the harbor.
File 1. Looks like a small torpedo.
Coming at you in waves of laughter.
It's a salami.
That's a neat trick.
Everyone should go to see Walt Disney Productions' The Boatniks. Rated G.
Welcome, everyone, to a pilot episode of the Medfield College Film Society podcast. My name is Jeff Crawford, and I'm joined by my society members. First off, Mr. Robert McSwain, how you doing tonight?
I am doing great. I'm excited to be here, ready to get going on our pilot episode.
Yes. Andy Brown reporting in. How you doing, Andy?
I'm excellent.
Good. I hope you're excited to review a wonderful Disney film tonight. And from the orange groves of Orlando, Florida, right beside Lake Buena Vista, Florida, Mr. Michael Crawford, how's it going?
It's going great. I've got a big kosher pickle to chew on, and I'm ready to go.
A little hint to what we're getting ready to talk about.
Spoilers. Well, our movie today is the 1970 Disney classic, The Boatniks, starring Robert Morse, Stefanie Powers, and a veritable who's who of television stars. Directed by Norman Tokar, who is a very frequent Disney director, and produced by Ron Miller, a.k.a. Walt Disney's son-in-law.
I was looking at what Mr. Tokar, is that how you pronounce his name?
I think so, yeah.
Mr. Tokar's filmography. He's got a pretty long list there of a lot of stuff I've never heard of, like A Tiger's Walks.
I've never seen that one. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
And Savage Sam, Big Red. I thought I knew a lot of Disney movies, but this guy's done some really deep cuts here. So we're going to...
Well, Savage Sam was a sequel to Old Yeller.
Oh, that's right.
Actually,
okay.
Yeah. But he's got some bangers in there. He's got The Ugly Dachshund.
Oh, yeah.
Which I hope for sure we're going to talk about someday. Mm-hmm. Follow Me Boys, Happiest Millionaire, Snowball Express, Apple Dumpling Gang. Are you kidding me? And of course, The Cat from Outer Space.
Yeah. That Cat from Outer Space. It's sort of become our calling card almost here around the Film Society. But
yeah, so this guy was, and unsurprisingly got his start, I think, judging from the movie, got his start in sitcoms for television, doing Leave It to Beaver, as did the writer Arthur Julian, who wrote the movie, was a primarily sitcom writer. I think we could probably tell.
Tell us a little bit. Were there any Disney legends in this movie?
There really weren't. This was an interesting cast because none of these people really did a lot of Disney stuff. Stefanie Powers was in a couple of different things. She was in Herbie Rides Again, which Jeff and I watched quite a bit as youths. But otherwise, it really wasn't, with an exception being, and this is just a little peek ahead, Mr. Vito Scotti, who has a wonderfully slightly racist turn later in the movie, was the Who Took My Chicken guy from Herbie Goes Bananas.
Oh.
Which is a double spoiler, but so welcome. So welcome.
Yeah. I was like, it's the Who Took My Chicken guy.
I know.
So yeah, it's
Before we get into the spoilers, let's transition here to our resident film critic. I will call Andy our film critic, and Andy's going to give us a little bit of what I like to call a knee-jerk reaction to this movie. So, Andy, give us your non-spoiler knee-jerk reaction to Boatniks.
Ugh.
Is that enough? I came into this movie ready to man the laugh boat, as the poster says. But this movie was brutal, and it took me 3 times to get through it. So yeah,
the movie posters of these movies that we have done and their taglines are just Yeah, and if you could just look up the movie poster to Boatniks, I recommend it. It's great.
It's pretty good. I have my backstory on boat. I picked this movie. I'll say it right now. I'm the one that suggested this one, and I grew up with this movie. And the way I got this movie is really weird. See, we were going down to Florida quite a bit. My grandparents lived down there, and then we were also going down to go to Disney World. So my dad had this great idea. He had this television that he could plug into the car cigarette outlet, and he had this great idea that he would just take a VHS deck, and we'd watch movies all the way down there, me and my sister. But we didn't have a lot of movies in our library because VHS was just starting to come into its golden era. And what he did was he called his brother up, who had a C-band satellite dish and who had the Disney Channel. He was one of the few people we knew that had it. And he would just had his brother record like 8 hours of Disney Channel. And we just had stacks of tape. I'm sure they're still around. But one of the movies that he recorded was Boatniks. And I watched that movie a lot. And I don't, and there's one specific plot element in that movie that we're going to get to later that just blew my mind as a kid. And but that's sort of my backstory. That's why I wanted to share this movie with you. And I will say that I remember it being a lot better as a child, but there were some moments where I chuckled pretty hard at it, though.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But Jeff, you said you hadn't seen this.
And not to my memory. If so, it had been in bits and pieces that I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm the same. We never saw it when we were kids that I remember at all. I think it was on one of the Leonard Maltin Turner Classic Movie Nights. And if so, that's the only place I ever saw it. But I didn't remember anything about it at all. So I was going in blind on this one. So I was very excited.
I mean, the kosher pickle line, which we'll get to in a minute, I mean, that's like, deep in my memory. Like I remember that and laughing as a child and thinking,
there's a lot of I laughed a lot at random things that happened in this movie, for sure.
So Andy, you didn't like it. That's your knee-jerk reaction.
Now there were a few moments where I kind of snickered to myself. I'll have to say the two characters that kind of made me chuckle the most. Probably the first one would be the nutty sailor, the ooh guy, played by was it the guy
Tony
from Car 54?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. And then Max, the Playboy guy. I don't know who that actor was. Underdog's voice.
Boy.
But that kind of brings me to this. There was a lot of skin in this movie for a Disney.
There were some
flick.
uncomfortable moments for certain. Yes.
I mean, I'm not complaining, but just FYI.
Maybe that's why I liked this so much as a preteen.
Probably so.
Maybe that was really.
Nautical.
Honestly, I didn't remember any of that as a kid. I remembered the crazy boat operator, and I remembered the kooky jewel thieves, which we'll talk about in a minute, and I remembered some other just elements, and but I did not remember the Playboy part. But yes, that was definitely weird.
Yeah, there were a lot of jokes where you could tell that they were like, "Oh, it's the 70s, man. We can get away with this. We're so naughty. We got a little joke there."
Well, can I just say before we jump into the spoilers, I did see where Emile Curie was involved in this movie, and Christopher Hibbler was assistant director, who was the son of Winston Hibbler, who was a Disney legend. Emile Curie did the set for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and didn't he do some work on Mary Poppins and some really
a ton of stuff.
Major
well,
stuff.
that's the funny thing about like Disney movies of this era and going probably till about like 1980 is you'll see the same people in the credits for every movie,
right? And
like the same set people, like the makeup people. The editor was Cotton Warburton, who you'll see in like every Disney movie, and Emile Curie always popping up with that set design.
So do you think these guys that were doing these movies, like, I mean, all these big, I mean, some of these like timeless classics, we're sitting there editing this movie and going, man, golly, boy, what have I become?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because Disney was like the last of the sort of studio system kind of places where it was the same group of people just cranking stuff out. So it was interesting. But before we start, I want to give a shout out to, I mentioned that Robert Morse and Stefanie Powers are in this, but we've got a ton of sitcom people. We got Phil Silvers, Sergeant Bilko. We got Mr. Roper. You mentioned Wally Cox, who was Underdog, Mr. Peepers. So it's like all these movies of this era are like wacky, sitcom-y kind of dudes showing up from TV.
Yeah, Mr. Furley, when he showed up, I was like, hey, I know that guy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and you mentioned Officer Tootie from Car 54, but Grandpa Al Lewis from the Munsters.
Yes.
Yes.
Sitting in the boat.
In the boat, stuck on the boat with the wife. A lot of women be blank, blank, blank jokes in this movie.
Yes, I want to get to that for sure.
Let's jump right into our spoiler section and let's hit the ground running with the first act. I will begin there with our opening credits as we see just establishing shots of boats in a harbor and a somewhat competent Coast Guard who's patrolling the harbor. And we see boats crashing, we see fires, we see scenes with pregnant mothers going into labor.
Can we talk about the beer can next to the compass real quick?
They got a beer joke in there right off the bat, man.
Yeah. And he says, you got any beer on board? And he says, yeah, we're loaded.
On the boat, the boat's name was the Burbank Temptress.
That's right.
Which is good.
Wow. Huh.
And it's around that time we're introduced to our opening credits song.
Boatniks.
It's pretty incredible. It's pretty unassuming when it starts off. It's just like this simple Wurlitzer riff, and then it'll just stop, and something will happen. But then eventually, it starts going, Boatniks, in really like low, overdriven voice.
And it's around this time that we're...
Hang on a sec. Can we go back to what kind of guy takes his very pregnant wife deep sea fishing?
Yeah. But then the joke is like, men be fishing, because she's like, they're taking her off in the ambulance, and he's like, oh, I'm right with you, honey. Well, and let me sneak off to get some fishing in.
So like the rhythm of this is there's some crazy, like there's a guy with a Volkswagen with a boat on top of it, and he like drives it to the pier, and the Volkswagen rolls off, and it flips upside down, so the boat's on top, and the Volkswagen's like, the boat's on the water, and Volkswagen's on top upside down. But they'll do this song where it goes Boatniks, and then it'll go to like this Coast Guard like clipper where they're just like, can you come over to so and so point? And they're like, oh yeah, what's going on? They're like, my boat's on fire and my wife is going crazy.
Dramamine dragon.
Then they'll show
Dramamine
something else
dragon.
like unrelated. It's just so, and it goes on again for a long time.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because it does a cold open, but then it has interspersed. It's like a gag, then a little bit of credits, then a gag, then some more credits.
Right.
So they kind of love that. It's like, let's sit around and think of how many wacky boat gags we can think of.
This song was written by Robert Brunner, who did the music for the film, and Bruce Belland, Belland. Just for those of you scoring at home, Bruce did. He wrote for Knight Rider, and he did
What?
Yes. And he did some work on Ozzie and Harriet. He did some work on Vacation. And then all these kind of Disney Northern Exposure he wrote for. So he was a screenwriter and musician. But Robert, I wanted you to know that he wrote some for Riptide, which was a show that we enjoyed.
Oh.
Yes. And
Well, I could another boat themed show
Exactly.
that Jeff and I like to watch.
and then Robert Brunner was involved in a lot of these. He was involved Disney movies. He worked on That Darn Cat, Lieutenant Robinson Crusoe, USN, Monkeys Go Home, Blackbeard's Ghost, so on and so forth. So he was just a studio cat. But that song is something else.
Boatniks.
Boatniks.
So our cold open wraps up, and we're introduced to Lieutenant Jordan, who's the commanding officer for the Coast Guard clipper that patrols there. And he's decided to put in a transfer and leave to go to the Arctic of all places, which that just really seemed strange, like he was trying to get away from something. But
Yeah, there's more. See, to me, that was the more interesting story than what we actually got in the movie.
so maybe there
Yeah.
needs to be a sequel where we find out what happened to Lieutenant Jordan.
Or maybe a prequel. Is that a prequel?
Yeah, that guy's seen some stuff.
He had to leave because he was too taunted by the ladies. He was tormented by the ladies that he was too worn out at the end of the day to do anything about.
Exactly.
That was really uncomfortable. Yeah,
I had that as a quote.
You see all these beautiful women, and that's the line is that he goes, and you want to leave all this behind, and he goes, yeah. Well, there's at the end of the day, you're too tired to do anything about it. I mean,
Like what?
well, yeah. What does he mean? I'm a little confused here. This is a family Disney movie. What's going on after dark around this place? I mean,
Is that what you were thinking when you were watching those VHSs on the way to Disney World, Robert?
that's exactly what I was thinking. Yes, when I was
Like what,
6 years
Daddy?
old.
What's he
Also,
mean?
judging from the women and judging from him, I don't know what he would do about it. It seems pretty unfeasible.
Yeah.
So then we're introduced to Ensign Garland, who's coming on to take command. And Mr. Garland is played by Robert Morse. Everyone knows him as Bertram Cooper from Mad Men, the founder of, someone's going to have to help me out here. I
Sterling
forgot the name
Cooper.
of
Sterling Cooper.
Sterling Cooper. And he's the man who doesn't work to wear shoes in the office. So, so here we are. Garland is pulled over on his way. He's speeding. He gets pulled over, and we hear over the highway patrolman's radio that these jewel thieves are on the loose. And we're introduced to these jewel thieves. They cut now, and we see Max, who's played by Norman Fell, and Charlie, who I did not have who he is played by, and then the leader of the jewel thieves, Harry, who's played by Phil Silvers.
But
Well, I gotta break in and say
I know what you're going to say.
The cop,
I know what you're going to
the
say.
cop with the plot exposition radio that they hear is like a quintessential Disney cop. He was the
Yes.
cop in The Ugly Dachshund
Yes.
who pulled over Dean Jones for speeding. It was the same thing. Oh, I'm sorry.
And
You
he-
were going so fast.
But it's the same actor. It's the same guy.
The same actor, the same everything.
Yeah.
So the director just calls Central Casting and say, "Send me the cop down here."
Yeah. It's like
A firm but
The same, like,
understanding,
motorcycle-
empathetic but firm cop. Who do you have?
He feels bad for you, but he'll write you a ticket anyway. That's the joke.
I mean, he is a major
I
figure
couldn't believe
in
it.
the Ugly Dotson.
Yeah. Oh man, good times.
So this is interesting here to the plot. The thieves are on their way to the marina, and they're trying to skip town, and they bump into a submarine that's up on a trailer, and they quickly talk their way out of this fender bender, and once again we hear the police radio warn about jewel thieves, which seemed like a really redundant way to tell us once again that there are jewel thieves on the loose, and a way to maybe add another plot point with this strange submarine that's up on a trailer.
Yeah.
So,
well, it kind of blew their plan because they were driving to Mexico, but they're like, oh, they're going somewhere. We've put up roadblocks all the way to Mexico. So they're like, oh, we need another plan. We better go get some Boatniks.
Yeah. But hang on, they don't run into a submarine though. They're sitting there, and then the lieutenant or the ensign runs into them.
Yeah, that's right.
He hits them in the trunk, and then the trunk pops up, and they try to stop it. And why were there so many people at that fender bender? Everybody got out of their car.
Yeah,
and
maybe it was just a '70s thing. I don't know. I mean,
they're being really vocal.
I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah, they were like harassing the ensign. They're like, "No, he did it. He did it.
Get him,
get him." And they're like, "No, it's no big deal." And they're like, "No, it is a big deal."
Incidentally, this is after they stop at that gas station with the really cool ice cream vending machine that they hotwire.
I had that in my notes too. That ice cream machine.
That was crazy.
Which the guy has his like his sweet lockpick kit. And he busts into the ice cream machine.
Yes.
So,
oh wait! I'm sorry. I had in my notes. I just saw it when the submarine people are the people that are riding in the submarine on the back of a truck.
Yeah, down the road
are like harassing the guy. What's the name of the head thief guy? Turns to him and says, "Hoarding any canned goods lately?"
Burn. Sick burn.
I was like, oh. What is that?
Harry
I don't know what that means. Harry, yeah. Hoarding any canned goods lately? So anyway, I had that in my notes.
Just put that in the burned Rolodex.
So Garland reports to the marina to find it teeming with attractive ladies. So once again, we see this marina is just like some sort of offshoot of the Playboy Mansion. And
it's not just any marina; it's the busiest marina I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's just like it's comically teeming.
There's a hilarious like B-roll of a really really busy like a bunch of sailboats going on that they will like throw in.
But it's like so like you could step from one boat to the other. There's so many boats. But I couldn't help think of, because this is Newport and this is Balboa. So I couldn't help thinking the Bluth banana stand was somewhere nearby.
There's always money in the banana stand.
So I thought of that, and I thought of the OC, and that they were all colliding right there. And
that's right.
OC.
It's around this time that we're introduced to our female lead, who is Kate. And what was Kate's last name? I didn't get that in my notes. Yes, Kate. So we're introduced to our female lead, Kate Fairchild, played by Stefanie Powers. And it's here that Garland accidentally knocks over a can of paint and dumps, was it yellow paint all over her?
Yeah.
And she's working on a boat there at the harbor, there at the slip. And so...
Kind of surprising that was the only can of paint spilled in the movie. I was kind of surprised.
Oh, right. Totally. Because they're setting him up to be a goof. Right. Because he has many pratfalls in his arrival at the dock. Yeah. Were underscored. And we've had him built up because the guys before he was getting there were talking about how he's the son of Admiral Torpedo Tommy Garland, who was this famous Navy guy. And so he shows up and he's just kind of a spaz.
And we also meet the Nutty Sailor for the first time, too. We see the first incident of the Nutty Sailor running into the dock.
Oh, yeah.
Every time Garland walks by, he's always trying to dock his boat. And it was just a constant, it was
Some great acting. Ooh. Boatniks.
Well, and we also come across Mr. Peepers on the Dolce Vita with his bikini ladies, and they're holding a party, and they're going to have the salute to the Lusitania.
and they don't have a motor in that. That seems strange because that's when they point out that there's no motor in the boat.
Yeah, he never leaves the dock except like once a year. And his boat, he replaced the motor with a wine cellar.
And they also introduce the round the world bus guy and his little dinghy.
They just put that there to like simmer. He's just kind of there in the background.
Yeah. That's showing the revolver and waiting for it to be used later in the movie.
Yeah.
I thought the writing here, they were putting a lot of pieces of the puzzle in place here. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I wasn't turned off by the writing at this point. I mean, I'm sitting there going, okay, well, I mean, they're covering all their bases. They're setting up the plot nicely, and they're putting all these kind of gags into place that we're going to see later on in the movie.
Yeah, at this point, I was still hopeful for this film. I'll just say that.
Well, it's crazy because like the whole movie, and this is something they do at the start, and it goes through the whole movie. It's like two different movies, and they just cut. It's like from one to the other and one to the other. You got the crooks, and then you've got Garland and his antics. And I mean, it all comes together in the end, but there's a lot of like back and forth from one to the other.
So it's this point that they cut to the thieves who are trying to hide their jewelry that they've stolen in food. And they're going to put it inside of all this food and then put it into a picnic basket. And then they'll be able to carry it around without being suspicious. And then they're going to try to find a boat. They're going to rent a boat from Kate at this point, is their plan. And they're going to sail to Mexico. And they're trying to read a book on how to sail. And I'm not a sailor. I've never sailed before, but I've seen some movies about sailing, like Captain Ron. I mean, and you just don't roll out of the dock and just and throw your sail up and sail the thing. I mean, so
no.
Why not just get a motorboat? I mean, why were they? It's like they were kind of over engineering this whole plot a little bit here at that point.
Yeah, he said that would be suspicious. I'm like,
I remember him saying that. I'm going, but would it really?
Yeah.
I mean, have you looked out there? I mean, there's 1,000 boats in that harbor. I think one going by with a motor doesn't look that suspicious to me.
How is that more suspicious than
How could you even seen one?
Calling yourself the Commodore and like getting on a boat that you don't know how to pilot and pretending to be the Commodore is slightly more suspicious.
And I just want to say, Kate made a big mistake here. She just let them take the boat. She didn't ask for money. She's like, just take the boat. I was like, what kind of business lady is that?
This is 70s, man. This is a different world.
He liked the cut of her jib.
That's right.
That's right. So Garland, at this point, goes out on his first patrol, and we're introduced to a character here, Bert, played by Al Lewis, Grandpa from the Munsters, and it was so bizarre. Like, it made no sense. I mean, I guess they wanted to show Garland being incompetent and getting in trouble for the first time with his commanding officers, but he goes out to try to get Bert and his wife off of they've run aground, and they're trying to get their little dinghy off of this reef as the tide's going out. Garland goes out to get them on a dinghy himself, correct?
Yeah.
And then he gets stuck.
Yeah. Because the other boat, the main boat, gets called away to a real emergency. So they leave Garland in the dinghy, and then the tide comes in and reefs Garland.
Well, and then another boat washed them up on the river.
Yeah, they got waked. They got waked by another boat, and it washed them up. But I got to say, Jeff, did you notice who the guy who came in said there was an emergency and then was in the dinghy with Garland? Did you notice who it was? It was Canoe from That Darn Cat.
I was wondering if it was Canoe. Yes.
The famous Canoe.
Perfect cat. Again, perfect cast.
Yeah.
Oh, Canoe is legendary.
Yeah.
This is like the first blatant stupid wife moment.
Yes.
Where the lady is just stranded on the rocks saying, "I'm sick of the whole Pacific Ocean."
Yes.
Just like
He's like, I tell you what, I'm sick of.
She's being Yeah. It's like, she's being emotional and naggy because he's gotten her stranded on a reef. It's so bizarre, but it is not the last time we will see that trope.
So we cut again now back to the thieves who are trying to sail now, and we go on this long sequence as they filled with navigational gaffes, and as they're just trying to they're wrecking into causing people to wreck. They don't know what they're doing. I mean, if that felt like a really long, useless montage there.
Yeah.
To prove a point.
I mean, all the stuff with them in this part felt just like it was dragging on forever, and it was the same beating it over and over again.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you guys a question, though. Are the Max, Charlie, and Harry, are they supposed to be funny? Are they supposed to be funny? Or is it just one of these things where we find it funny, but they're not really supposed to be funny?
I think we find it funny for a different reason than they were supposed to be funny.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Because it seemed like at times they were trying to be the Three Stooges, and other times they were not. And so I never was sure if I'm supposed to laugh or not at them.
It definitely seems they're playing so over the top they're supposed to be funny.
Okay.
But we would generationally take it in another way to be funny.
Like the character development of those two, because you had Harry, who's the leader, and he's the fast talker. You have the idiot, the middle guy, who's just sort of doesn't know anything, and then Mr. Roper is sort of calm, cool, and collected, and seems to have an idea of how the world works.
Mr.
Yeah.
Roper. Stanley.
He was the one who seemed to like most know what he was doing. But this scene with the boats, it was like them in front of a blue screen, like cringing, and then it would cut to like a real boat with like stuntmen with like bad ADR. Like, oh, get down from there. And then we cut back to the blue screen of them like covering their eyes, being like, oh no. But I will say that like some of like the boat, like actual boat footage of them like missing stuff was pretty wild, because boats are like not easy to like.
Oh
It's
my
hard. to
It's not
find
like a fighter
stuff.
plane.
I was thinking
Yeah.
that too.
I was like actually really impressed with some of their like boat pratfalls, because that couldn't have been easy.
No, not at all. I mean, and they had to have done, 10 to 12 takes easy, maybe more, to get some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, to get the timing down on that was impressive. So it's at this point that Kate goes out and saves Garland, who's now stranded with Bert and his nagging wife.
Well, and Garland gets in trouble, and we haven't even mentioned what's his name, Commander Taylor, Don Amici.
Yes.
Don Amici, a long time actor, was a Hollywood heartthrob way back in the day, and then in our era was like Cocoon and Harry and the Hendersons and stuff like that. So he was a familiar face.
So the thieves give up now, and they crash into Taco Mucho's portside restaurant. And
Yes.
I was a little like I laughed, but I was like, "Going, is this racist?" Because it was. It tiptoed along a fine line there. So they look up, and there's a restaurateur in a sombrero who welcomes them, and the idiot thief goes, "Oh, you did it, Harry! You made it to Mexico." So you tell me, guys,
Yes.
did that cross the line, or was that done tastefully?
There's a lot of weird.
It would not happen in. Yeah. Go ahead.
There's a lot of weird stuff in this movie that it's like I couldn't tell if it was being racist or it was like being like self-aware of like, yeah, this is kind of super racist, and I don't know if that's any better, but there was a lot of stuff where they were like, haha, aren't people racist? And then others where it was just like kind of bad.
So Garland gets dressed down by his superior officer, who is played by Don. Is it Don Amici?
Yeah, that's Don Amici.
So yeah, it's at this point that Don Amici compares him. Says his father was Torpedo. Was it Torpedo Taylor Garland?
Yeah.
And we hear that his father was a decorated submarine captain who sunk a ton of ships in the Pacific.
Yeah, they'd all be speaking Japanese now.
I had that in my notes. If your father handled a boat the way you do, we'd all be speaking Japanese.
Yes, nicely done.
So this sets up like a rhythm of like Garland screws up, and then the commander comes in and like chews him out like over
Exactly.
and over again.
So yeah, so that we see that sort of that ends Act One, is that we've been introduced to the thieves. We got Kate. The Marina is crazy, and Garland is a screw up, and he gets dressed down, and we kind of rinse, wash, and repeat now, heading into Act Two. So at this point, Garland's wrapped up his first day. He's gone to get something to eat, and he bumps into Kate at a local fish place. And
Which, by the way, are they going there to eat by themselves separately?
Yes.
yeah, that's the thing. That was kind of strange. Like, I mean,
Well, he's at the bar, right? Sitting there drinking
Yeah,
orange
but
juice.
he's waiting for a table.
He's drinking
though.
orange juice.
Yeah, they're
at the
both
bar.
waiting for a table.
They're both waiting. They do this kind of meet cute thing where they're like crammed together because it's so packed. They like get like physically crammed together. And then the waitress is like, well, if you're here together, then you can get seated faster. So they're like, oh, okay.
So there's very much this hate relationship at the very beginning here of Kate and Garland. So gets mad at her for helping him out because her helping him out got him in trouble. And then she gets mad at him for dumping paint on his head, even though it was it was an accident. I mean, but so the hostess sees them arguing about back and forth, and she says, "Hey, we can get you. You can save time if you guys want to sit together." And then they say, "Okay, we will," but they insist on separate checks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's when we find out that they sit down at the table, and Garland starts talking about his life story. He was born on December the 7th, 1941, at a naval hospital in Pearl Harbor. So that's yeah. And then Kate is
Some pedigree, man.
But the thing is that Kate's not impressed at all. She's like, whatever. Like that's pretty. I mean, even if you don't like the guy, I'd say, wow. I mean, was it crazy? But I mean, to be born at that juncture in history, and for her to shrug it off seemed seemed really really funny. But
Yeah, that's when this is when he boasts that he's experienced 12 hurricanes in 1 week while in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He's like, I saw 12 hurricanes.
so she's not
like,
impressed by this. And then he says, "Hey, by the way, I worked. Let's see here. He points out that he had been training at the Hurricane Center in Miami, and they had 12 hurricanes that season. And,
No,
and
in
again,
1 week.
she's
He
unimpressed.
says 1 week.
Yeah, but he says, oh, we had 12 hurricanes. And she's like, He's like, in 1 week. And she's like, And he's like, I was in like Kansas for one.
So the quote here, she says, "So what? They get hurricanes a lot in Florida, a lot, and but do they get 12 in one season? They get 12 in one season." Garland says it was 12 in 1 week, and So again, Kate is unimpressed by any of this.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden she has a great time. I don't understand what the pivot point was.
Yeah, it was a really good date. It worked out very well because
As we see later. Yeah.
But she points out some strange things here. She just he asks her, it's like, well, what's your story? And she says, my mom was a go-go dancer. My dad was a cat burglar. And she was being sarcastic. And then she says that she grew up with money in Massachusetts. That she was this rich girl in Massachusetts. And
that makes sense.
yeah, she came out to college and just stayed.
yeah, she came out to college and just stayed out here. And I found her to be very condescending at this point. I was getting really annoyed with her. Like, she just kind of talked down the Garland all the time. It was just like, yeah, you're stupid. And
But then they get ice cream sundaes and they're pals.
yeah, then that happened. Like, and it just,
And then in one check now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She lets
What's up
him
with
pay.
that?
and then she makes him pay for it after she's like, oh, by the way, I'm loaded, but you're paying for this.
Yeah.
The only thing is that, and we can get to this at the end, but Robert Morse as the romantic lead, I did not find completely believable.
No.
So I could see this scene playing out kind of like this.
So then we cut forward to the next day, and Kate's brought a group of kids down to the marina to show them about sailing, teach them about sailing, and Garland's giving them a tour of the Coast Guard cutter. And she's still being condescending to him, like he's saying, this is, pointing out things on the boat, and then she's just sort of like snickering in the background the whole time.
Yeah, but she's taken a shine to him. She's kind of like giving him the business, but you can tell she's sweet on him.
So that was sort of the turning point. Like they had the dinner, and then she sees him with the kids, and he's just not a nice guy. But but like I said, she was still being condescending and kind of a jerk. I thought Jeff was going to pick up on this immediately and hate her, but he was kind of like, yeah. Because I was sort of like tiptoeing around it in our offline conversations about it, but.
I had too many starry eyes for her.
So meanwhile,
I forgive her too much.
The thieves are lost in heavy fog at this point, and Garland and the Coast Guard run into them as they're answering, and they're not answering the foghorn. So Garland's on patrol again. He's hitting the foghorn, and they see this boat on the radar, and they're not answering the foghorn back because they don't know how. They don't know that they're supposed to.
Yeah. But is it just me, or did it not seem like, I mean, they make like Garland's a big goofball, and like over the dinner, he told her he thinks he's cursed and has like super bad luck. But he was doing a pretty good job, like on the boat in the fog. Like he was, he was giving out commands, and he was like competent. Yeah.
There's a lot of these things that happen where it's not like he's just goofing up, but he's just unlucky. I mean, that's kind of how they play.
Yeah.
So they keep honking the horn, and the thieves keep turning, and they keep turning away from the thieves, and the thieves keep turning back into the path of the cutter.
Hilarious.
And it's at this point that they hit the boat in the fog and sink the sailboat, and down go the jewels.
It's so funny.
So then we'll go back to land. Garland is dressed down again for sinking a sailboat, but it wasn't his fault.
Yeah,
he was
totally
doing it
wasn't
by the
his
book.
fault. Yeah. He was doing his job, man.
Yeah, he was following by the book. He was honking the horn. He was trying to get out of their way. He saw them on the radar. I mean, the only thing I guess he could have done was stop the boat dead and wait. But yeah, he gets in trouble again. So he gets dressed down once again.
And he gets the ultimatum. If he goofs up one more time, he's going to lose his command.
So the fog's lifted. The thieves go back out with a grappling hook, and they're just throwing a grappling hook into the water and trying to hook the picnic basket.
Yeah, you forgot to say that they lose their jewels.
Well, yeah, I said the boat went down. The jewels went down with the boat.
Sorry.
So they sink.
And they're all in the picnic basket.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
And the assorted picnic foods.
Yeah.
So,
and then they say the line. He says, "How do you know we're in the right spot?" And he says, "Are you kidding? I'd know that buoy anywhere." I like that line.
and here's a weird. This is a weird point here. So Garland is back on patrol again. He gets a fire call.
This is my favorite part of the movie.
I think if you're talking about what I'm talking about, it's my favorite part of the movie too.
He gets a call that there's been a fire, and only to find out that somebody's husband has locked themselves in the head.
Yes, this is my favorite part of the movie.
It seems so like such a wasted scene. Like, was that necessary? Like, almost like we got to throw a toilet joke in there, boys. Let's write us up one.
That guy's face too, man.
That guy's face.
Yeah,
I've got that in my notes.
and they zoom in on
the
it.
face.
They zoom in on.
Yes, they do a zoom. That's right. Yeah,
He's kind of doing like a Benny Hill kind of like squat man kind of. I don't even know how to describe the face. But she's like, yeah, he locked himself in the bathroom, and then he's got his face in the window like, that's me, and it just zooms in on him forever. Oh, so amazing.
That just made me feel like, did I miss like something in the culture that, I mean, what is this about? It's so long.
They're like, why did you call in a fire? And she's like, well, would you say that your husband had locked himself in the head?
Yes, I would. So that scene ends, and we're back on the cutter again. And this time, an attractive lady has her skirt stuck on the boat wheel. Which I'm going, well, why didn't she just turn the boat off? And she doesn't want to move her hand.
Yeah, it's because she doesn't want to move her hand to like turn it off because it's holding her skirt down.
Right. So then a funny sight gag here. Garland turns to all of his sailors and says, I need a volunteer to swim over there. And everyone jumps overboard and starts swimming towards the boat.
Yeah, I just want to say that this is 42 minutes in at this point, and this is my first genuine laugh of the whole movie.
That was pretty funny. Those two things, because I was getting a little bit lost in the henchman's antics, and so maybe the randomness of those two things are kind of like a refresher, like a cold water in the face or something.
Yeah, it made me wish like the whole movie was about like Garland going around and having these antics with people. Because it
felt very much like a TV show at that point. Yeah,
it felt like Laugh-In, where it would be like, let's cut to this one thing, and da-da-da-da, that happened, then back to the other guys, and then back to Garland again.
Goldie Hawn jumps out of like a porthole, and we're like, oh.
Yeah.
So the thieves continue. They cut back to the thieves now. The thieves continue to haul up garbage with the grappling hook.
There's a lot of garbage, too.
They got the life preserver from the Flying Dutchman. That's a joke.
And then they have a fishing rod. They're throwing a grappling hook and they're throwing a fishing rod. So the idiot thief starts saying, "Hey, I think I got a bite," and he hooks a monster fish and starts pulling the boat backward. So
it's like Jaws.
We see before he says, "I think I got a bite," and they cut to some stock footage of this giant grouper or sea bass, and.
I don't know. The stock footage wasn't that big. I mean, they later show it that it's a 565-pound fish, sea bass. But the stock footage looked like just a regular old fish.
So Garland sees the thieves getting pulled backwards and tells them to stop, or he's going to write them a ticket. But I mean, what's the ticket for? I mean, I don't understand.
It's pulling them faster than the speed limit. There's a speed limit of like 10 miles an hour or something. I don't remember what it was, but the fish is pulling him faster than the speed limit. He's like, turn off your motor. And they're like, it's off. It's the fish. It's a total Jaws situation.
So they don't stop. They abruptly cut to Garland back at the harbor. So we see the sight
rams his
gag
boat again.
Of the docking the boat for the second time of the guy, the ooh guy.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
And they kind of leave it like that. I mean, I was confused at this point because, he's telling that they didn't resolve the fish thing. At least I didn't feel like they did at that point. So, but we see Garland. He's back. The ooh guy wrecks his boat again. So we see that again. And
the
then
nutty
Garland
sailor
returns to start hitting. He starts hitting on Kate about all the good work he's doing. So again, Kate is completely unimpressed by this.
Yeah.
And he decides to kiss her.
Yeah.
So he lays one on her at this point.
Smooching.
So then she shows him a newspaper clipping of the record sea bass the thieves caught. So then that picks back up to this. So I was like, okay, so now that resolves that the whole sea bass thing.
Yeah, and she's onto him though.
Yeah, she's onto him. She's like, don't you think it's strange that they don't want to be seen?
Hey, can we stop for a second? Let's go back for a second. How much time had passed between all this? Because he just goes in for the kiss, not like, it was just like he's just randomly putting one on. He goes in for a kiss as if they've been dating a while.
Yeah, it's like a assumed kiss.
Yeah.
Not like I'm going out on a limb here. It's like, now we're in smooching land.
Yeah, and it was completely normal. And they also passed Jason's boat on the way in, which is the La Dolce Vita.
Yeah.
It means the sweet life.
Well, we've got
Indeed.
two of the recurring gags three, because you've got the ooh guy on the boat. You got Mr. Mitchell preparing his boat for Around the World or Bust. He's practicing lashing himself to the mast of this tiny boat. And then you've got Jason on his renting a motor to go to a luau at somebody's like ex-wife's birthday party or something. Yeah. I don't know. That was weird.
But Garland doesn't seem to think there's anything wrong with this with these three fishermen that don't want to be seen.
Mm-hmm. But she kind of plants the seed in his mind, kind of.
So now he starts thinking, okay, so maybe I need to keep an eye on these guys. So he starts watching them as they're and they go out with a diving helmet, or those old diving helmets, and as I recall, and they try to dive on the wreck.
They don't know how, but they have a book. The running gag of I've got a book about it.
And the underwater scene,
yes,
just in general.
Yes.
I meant to look this up. I have a sneaking suspicion they shot this at like the Long Beach Aquarium. Like they had to have shot this somewhere.
It looked like it could be in like a you know, like a mermaid bar or something. It just
yeah. I wanted to look see where they shot the underwater scenes because
yeah, that'd be good to know.
So he's keeping an eye on the thieves now, and Garland decides to proceed closer to investigate. And a shark appears, and the thieves try to get Charlie to come up. So Charlie's down in the water. So yeah, so this is where we see obviously the fake shark swims by.
It's so good.
And then in a panic, Charlie swims up from the boat, and Garland pulls out a rifle and shoots,
naturally,
presumably at Charlie, but actually at the shark.
Yeah, the crooks think
a different time. Hardcore.
70s, man.
But it's it's Brody and Jaws. It's all a prequel to Jaws.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The same thing. I was like, yeah. Just pulls a gun immediately, and then so they all think Charlie's dead, but he actually kills the shark and saves Charlie.
Yeah, I just love when Charlie comes up to the top, and they've got that fin going around him in the water. It's so good. It's like a fin on a pontoon or something going around him.
It looks like something from Sesame Street or something.
Yeah,
that's right. So we cut to the hotel. So the thieves are at their hotel. They're trying to come up with a new scheme. So everything they've tried is failed. They got to get these jewels off the bottom. So then Harry picks up the phone and he calls Japan.
Yeah.
So he calls Japan. He makes a couple of off-color Japanese jokes.
When he calls the guy, he says, "Hey, you still raising Cane in Cherry Blossom Lane, you old slice samurai, you?" I love that.
Well, and the phone number is Kamikaze 62914.
Yes, there's a Kamikaze joke in there.
Yeah,
he makes a joke about cameras, motorbikes, and watches.
Yeah, the guy tries to sell him a camera, a motorbike, and a watch.
He says, "No, I'm looking for a pearl diver." And then
he also says, "How's your geisha?"
That's right.
Yeah.
How's your geisha?
So Act 2 wraps up with them asking for a pearl diver.
There's a swinging summer paradise, and a very special kind of people who are nautical but nice.
So far, how are we feeling now?
I've got a note that says, "I just want this movie to end right at this point."
Oh, man, I was just getting into it. I was like, I can't wait to see where this is going.
There was, like I said, their sailing misadventures of these three was really tiresome for me, and I felt like something was really starting to happen. So I was like, let's finish strong here, because I feel like it really sagged in the middle.
Yeah.
So Act 3 begins with Mitchell, who's been planning his around-the-world sail on what is nothing more than just a dinghy. So he's got this little tiny sailboat, and he's got this banner saying "Around the World or Bust." And he's been planning it for years, and he's going to set sail today. And there's this huge fanfare to send him off. And we find that Mr. Mitchell's family consists of at least 9 kids, all 18 months apart. And the trip will last for 3 years. And his wife seems relieved that he's leaving.
Yes. Hilarious gag. They're like, "Are you worried that your husband's going to be away for 3 years?" And she's like,
"I certainly hope so," is what she said.
I certainly hope so. It's hilarious.
It's just, and those kids were just hilarious, like typical 70s, like crying kids. But that to me looked like Michael, one of those Mark Davis sketches, like,
yeah,
woman with like
exactly
bunch
what I was
of kids,
thinking.
like for an old Disney attraction. Just, it's like set up as a visual gag.
Yeah, the Rabbit Woman for America Sings with all the kids. It was exactly like that.
Right.
But it also has another gag that they love to do in like movies of this era, is like making fun of like the TV guy for being like a jerk. Because he's like this real super like pushy TV guy. I feel like they love to do that. That was a favorite gag of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So while all this is going on, Garland is talking to Kate and looking. He says, "I'm looking into who this Commodore Simmons, who is the alias of Harry, the lead jewel thief."
Great alias.
Then Mitchell sets sail and is sunk in the harbor by none other than our favorite yacht guy.
No, the Nutty Sailor.
The Nutty
Sailor. So he runs over Mitchell, and then they cut to see his wife, who's crying that he didn't
She's
leave.
like bawling. It's like, oh, it's so funny. She's so upset.
And Garland is just amused by it all. He's just like, oh, that's funny. And he just happens, but then he happens to walk by a paper in the garbage can with the headline that 3 jewel thieves are still at large.
But he never looked at the paper. He just walked past it, then stopped.
Yeah, and glanced at it. He didn't pick it up. It seems like that'd be something you want to take with you.
Yeah.
So now, meanwhile, the Pearl Diver arrives via passenger helicopter, which I thought was strange.
Yeah.
A Japanese woman emerges dressed in full stereotypical Japanese formal wear.
To stereotypical Japanese music.
Yes.
Yes.
with stereotypical Japanese music. She hands the thieves a note in English and proceeds to bow very honorably as they read the note out loud, explaining who she is.
You got to have that bowing gag, and the longer the better. Just drag it out. Drag it out.
So Charlie, the dumb thief, says, "What a beautiful chick."
She was attractive. I thought she was attractive.
She was a fetching young lady.
Yes. So Garland proceeds to snoop around and finds out that Commodore Simmons is at a local hotel. So Garland goes to the hotel and starts snooping around.
The hotel clerk at the hotel. Did anybody catch this guy? Maybe it's just because I had just watched this movie. But he looked familiar to me, and then I couldn't find him anywhere because he was just a bit part. He was like the hotel clerk. But he was a butler in The Sound of Music. He was Gilchrist Stewart, and he's in like all kinds of stuff. But I had just seen Sound of Music, and it's like, who is that guy? One of the
From
many
Sound of Music to
guys.
Boatniks.
Yes, uncredited.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was strange. So the Garland is at the front desk, and he notices that Don Amici, his commanding officer, is registering at the hotel, and gets snippy with Garland when he sees him. I mean, big deal.
Well, it's awkward. He says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm checking in." He's like, "Oh, I understand." And he's like, "With my wife," as if they're implying that he's having an affair.
He was checking in with somebody else.
With my wife. He was real mad about it. Yeah. Their house was being painted.
A likely story.
So the thieves show up with the Pearl Diver. He says that that's his cousin from Pittsburgh, as Garland is leaving, and introduces her as his cousin from Pittsburgh. So using a translation book, Harry tells the Pearl Diver to get the picnic basket off the bottom of the harbor, and it's very.
This was rough.
Yeah, it's getting really rough at this point. Like they're speaking in,
There's lots of also and lots of honorable whatever.
Yes.
And it is, as my notes say, so rough in all caps.
This is okay. So now Garland and Kate are watching from a distance as this attractive Pearl Diver disrobes, revealing a bikini, and Garland starts gawking at her.
Yeah.
So Kate's is pretty serious girlfriend. I think we've established that because he laid one on her pretty good there. And then he's just like drooling over this Japanese Pearl Diver.
There seems to be a theme in this movie that men can't control their impulses and should not be required to.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of checking out. There was a scene early on where, like, the Navy guys were checking out Kate. And like, oh, that Kate is sure something or whatever, Right.
So, okay, question. So, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, there's a lot of skin in this flick. Is this unusual for Disney movies? I mean, is this the only Disney movie with this amount of suggested sexuality, or is there other ones?
say it's unusual. Every now and again, there'll be one where it'll be like, "Oh, a lady in a bikini,"
Right.
haha. But I can't think of anything like this.
I would say this is
Okay.
upper level for sure.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the pearl diver comes back up. She dives down. There's this whole scene, and she's going, diving without any gear. She's just, free diving. And she comes back up with the picnic basket. So
Now,
Kate
first she comes up with an octopus because she thinks they're hungry. So
Yeah.
she brings them an octopus. Haha.
Yes. Funny, because Japanese and octopuses. She returns with the picnic basket, and Kate is convinced that they're the jewel thieves now.
Yeah.
But Garland wants more evidence, even though she has a picnic basket, and they're really interested in this picnic basket. So Kate continues to be condescending and it says that, "Hey, I'm glad you're not in the FBI," when Garland thinks he still needs more evidence, even though that they just pulled a picnic basket up off the floor of the ocean that they're really interested in. So the pearl diver puts back on her traditional Japanese attire, and we're back at the hotel. And we find out that she speaks fluent English
Surprise,
with
surprise.
absolutely no accent.
Surprise, surprise.
So she demands $25,000 for her services. And she says there's an old Japanese saying, "Girl who doesn't take upfront money often end up with egg foo young on her face."
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
But also she kind of calls it out for, they say something about, the inscrutable East. And they're kind of like calling themselves out. It's so weird. But while also continuing to be like, dig in further. It's pretty.
The
amazing.
layers.
Yeah.
So she then pulls a diamond bracelet out of a pickle and takes a bite and exclaims that, "Great kosher pickle. Call me for the next picnic," and then just leaves. That's the last we see of her.
But she also, she leaves, she says, "Sayonara, baby."
That's right. So they agree to give her the bracelet as payment for her services. So Garland sees the Japanese pearl diver leaving with a huge diamond bracelet and decides to sneak in for a closer look. But he goes to the wrong room and ends up at his commanding officer, Fred's room, who's having a romantic evening with his wife at a hotel. After Fred delivers a jab to his wife, who says there's a peeping Tom. She says there's a peeping Tom outside, and he says there's a peeping Tom in your window, implying who would want to look at you.
Another wife character. Another wife character that's just
Another wife character.
yeah.
They go back a couple of times to that gag of like, "Your wife? No." They do that. They hit that note a couple times.
So he goes in he sees somebody walking by outside the window and decides to call the police. So then we cut to the next day, and the police come, and we find out that Fred's dressing down Garland at the Coast Guard station for peeping around the hotel. Garland tries to explain that he thinks the jewel thieves are in the area, which is completely plausible.
Yeah. I like what he says. He goes, "No, I was trying to peep on the Commodore's room." And his commanding officer says, "Oh, you're sicker than I thought."
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
Yeesh.
Oh my.
And now this might be the third chapter now of racism we're introduced to.
And the greatest.
It's
So the
something
thieves
else.
are trying to charter a flight to Mexico. They call the Trans-Mexican Airlines. The phone rings at a shack in Mexico where a Mexican peasant lady answers. Pepe, the owner, is banging on a plane with a hammer and singing
At the Pancho Villa airport, by the way.
Yeah.
at the Pancho Villa airport. And I noted that he's wearing an Atlanta Braves hat, which was really strange to me.
What? I didn't notice that.
Yes, he has a ball cap on with a big A on it, and I could only conclude that he's a Braves fan.
Could it not be Angels? It could be the California Angels, right?
I guess, but it was a navy blue with a. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
That
it
is
could be.
weird.
I thought
didn't
the
even
same
notice
thing.
that.
I thought the same thing. I thought it was Braves as well. And also like I guess the lady who I assume is his wife, she answers the phone hello instead of hola. I don't know.
Yes.
Is it me, maybe?
And again, it's the who took of the chicken guy from Herbie Goes Bananas, which is, will be revisited someday.
Yes.
Pepe offers to use his seaplane to pick them up. The seaplane is in rough condition, and all the quote-unquote niños are playing on it.
Yeah, and animals and laundry hanging there.
And that is.
Yeah, but he said all his planes had been leased out to the El Salvador and Honduras Air Forces.
Yes, I forgot about that part.
I was like, I don't know if that was some timely gag or just a throwaway random thing.
Yeah.
So Jason is finally leaving the harbor for the first time. He's got an engine in his boat, and Kate waves, and he mentions that they'll be out for 4 days and 4 nights. So they set that up. So Garland shows up as the thieves arrive to book the boat to rendezvous with the seaplane. Garland tries to fast talk his way into getting Harry, the lead jewel thief, to stay. After an argument erupts, Garland spills the content of the picnic basket, and see it's full of hard deli meats and a chicken and other assorted items with no jewels.
Why did they just have a cooked chicken just loose?
I don't know.
Yes,
and how
I was thinking the exact same thing.
What would it really look like after being in the water so many times?
And I was. There's no way that the contents of that would have. Yeah, it would have been disgusting.
Yeah.
Maybe the pickles and the salami.
Yeah, they would survive. But Garland thought he was gonna open it up and be jewels, but it's deli stuff, and so he's been trying to prove to Don Amici that it is, and it doesn't work out.
So now the commanding officer Fred is there, and he relieves Garland of command immediately, and the thieves just walk off. And the thieves are trying to put the contents of their picnic basket back in, and a pelican keeps bothering them, and grabs the big kosher pickle and flies off with it. And they say, "Well, forget it. We don't need the pickle." So they pack up the rest of their content, and Kate grabs the pickle from the pelican. Evidently, and the pelican's a pet of hers. So did they introduce that earlier in the movie? Or
no, the pelican's been hanging around the whole movie. It's Chekhov's pelican.
They thought of everything.
Yeah, it's all tied together.
So she throws the kosher pickle into a bucket, and then notices here.
Yeah, the jewelry comes
clinks.
Yeah, then she sees the jewelry, and Garland turns and demands the thieves stop as they speed out of the harbor. That's all he says is just stop. So he commandeers a powerboat, and a slow speed chase ensues as they cut in and out of the boat traffic.
And it's not just any boat traffic. I mean, it is like a highway of boat traffic.
It's just insane amount of boat traffic, and they're zipping in between. And again, the timing to be able to pull that off, the stunt timing was impressive, I'll say. And we hear some really good chase music, as I recall. Did you pick up on that,
Boatniks.
So then the thieves get surrounded by boats as Garland begins to close in, and they're completely boxed in now. They can't get out because all these boats have crashed all around them. So they jump ship and hop from one boat to the other, and then they end up on the party boat.
Oh, this is one of my favorite lines of the movie, though.
Yes.
Yeah, she is. That lady says to I think it's to Max. She says, "Hi, do you hula?" He says, "Only on New Year's Eve." And I was like, "What's that mean?"
I had that written down too.
I did too.
It's her reaction though is just shrug. Oh well.
Oh well.
I loved this scene. This was my second favorite part of the movie, probably, and I wish it would have gone on longer with more wackiness. It reminded me a lot of the drive-in scene in That Darn Cat.
Yes,
where they're going from car to car, and all kinds of crazy things are happening. But the life on the Vita Dolce or Dolce Vita or whatever it is it's pretty interesting to witness.
Yeah,
I'll interject here that they announced when they got on the boat that they're out of liquor, and that they've put and asked if they're from the Davy Jones liquor locker.
Yeah,
That's a great name.
that is a great name.
And I remember as a kid going, like, I didn't get the joke, and the only Davy Jones I knew was Davy Jones from the Monkees. And I thought there was some sort of tie in there. And I was confused as a little kid going, why does Davy Jones have a liquor locker, in this movie? And
It would make
but I
sense.
figured it out later on in life, but that was a confusing moment for me as a child watching this movie. And because I loved the Monkees as a child. So,
Oh man, that's good.
That just
the
makes me
thieves
want to go to
end
the
up-
Davy Jones of the Monkees liquor locker.
Yeah.
So the submarine appears now, and it pulls up alongside the boat. And the thieves see it, and they decide to hop the submarine now. So they get inside.
And Harry starts speaking German because they're in the
They get
U-boat.
inside, and then and Harry starts speaking German, and they make a couple of German U-boat jokes.
It's like I find it tough to speak English in a U-boat.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So they have no idea how to drive a submarine, which I would imagine driving a submarine's got to be harder than piloting a sailboat. But they just start pushing buttons, and the submarine leaves.
Well, Mr. Roper seems to know what he's doing because he
Right.
like switches it on and starts. He like actually knows what he's doing because he goes.
So yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, he seems to have this weird, intimate knowledge with submarines. So maybe he served on a submarine.
Oh, maybe so.
I mean, I
part
don't
of the
know.
prequel.
He seemed like so.
Maybe he served with Garland's dad. That would be a twist.
Oh, torpedo.
Ooh, yeah.
Torpedo, whatever.
So Garland shows up now, and he makes his way through the party boat. So then he sees the thieves leaving on the submarine, and he gets the Sea Scouts, who happen to be going by, thinking that the party is for them,
So he's like, no, it's not.
which seemed even more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So Garland commandeers the Sea Scouts canoe and chases after the sub in a canoe now, and he's yelling "stroke" as they're paddling through the water. So the submarine now dives, and we're treated to some really good underwater effects. So it's basically a plastic model.
It's
dropping.
a nice process shot. That's really good. Yeah.
And I did a little research tonight beforehand, and because I was like, that submarine has. I bet that submarine was real. And I found that they did make a submarine in the 60s. A company called Perry Oceanographics built a submarine called the PC-3B Tech Diver. And it was a yellow submarine. It looked just like that one. They built it in the 60s, and they only built a handful of them. It was roughly 22 feet long and carried 2 to 3 people and had a depth range of 600 feet.
Oh.
So there you go.
Did it have weird clear plastic tubing that the water would run through on the top of the roof?
I found that really funny. So I haven't found any pictures of inside of the sub, but there's a couple of them still floating around, or no pun intended.
Did it have anti-gravity plating so you could go upside down but not notice because you were still somehow sitting on the floor upside down?
I was like, so Kate arrives with the Coast Guard and Commander Taylor, who gives a jab for Garland for joining the Sea Scouts. And then Garland, so I can't remember the exact line, but it was something like, you finally join an outfit that's suitable to your talents, or something like that.
Meanwhile, the Sea Scouts are booking it, and they're like killing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we see Charlie. They go back to the thieves, and Charlie tells Harry that he'd like his own submarine, and then Harry responds, "You'll have to get a much larger bathtub." And again, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, there was a lot of lines here that seemed kind of oddly placed. So Garland boards the cutter, and they proceed the chase, and the thieves discover the submarine has a torpedo tube on it, or at least torpedo tubes. And then the thief says, just casually, just says, "Oh, that's for spear fishing," which I thought was a nice, cover for a plot hole.
Yeah, I
why
love
would a
that they thought. I love that they thought to like, oh, we gotta cover that plot hole.
Yeah. So Commander Taylor continues to argue with Garland, who wants to use the sonar to chase the sub. I don't know why they're arguing about this. The thieves discover the sub is upside down at this point, which made no sense because
so weird.
it was so bizarre because they're clearly not upside down. I mean, it's clearly just flip the camera over and like nothing's falling, no one's hair. I mean, and they don't obviously they don't seem to sense that they're upside down.
But they're underwater, so anything.
Yeah,
can
I guess
happen.
because they're underwater. Yeah. They then hear the sonar from the cutter, and they decide to put the sub on the bottom, and they take it down almost to crush depth. Which I laugh with Jeff. That every submarine movie they have to do this. There's two things happen in almost every submarine. They go below crush depth, and then they get to one other part here, which was really bizarre. So they lose the sub on the sonar, and then Max sneezes.
Yeah.
And I got a question. Is that really how sonar works? Because they're using active sonar, so the cutter is pinging a noise down to try to hit something, and then if it bounces back, then they know there's something down there.
Yeah. I can't imagine
passive
like in the
sonars
harbor
where you're listening, isn't it? Or is it backward?
Yeah.
No, you're right.
So the way they're using the sonar is completely wrong. But I don't think they were thinking about that when they wrote this movie.
It did make me think of The Hunt for Red October, though.
Oh, definitely. They were doing a whole riff on like submarine movie. Like they had all the notes, man.
Yeah.
One ping only.
So they decide to fake out that they've sunk by shooting the contents of the picnic basket into the torpedo tube. And
So
it's this
good.
point that the salami comes flying up out of the water, and it looks like a little miniature torpedo. And it strikes the side of the Coast Guard cutter, and we hear Don Amici yell, "It's a salami!" And we get a great look take from Garland at this point.
Well, there was something really disturbing about him, like cramming that gnarly chicken into like the torpedo tube with his bare hands.
Yeah.
It was just unpleasant for some reason. And then like cramming that salami in there. Yeah. The first kosher torpedo I've ever seen.
Props to the props department for doing the salami torpedo special effect, though,
Yeah, I wonder how they did that.
Because it looked like there was like a
sicker than I
prop or
thought.
something like pushing the salami through the water.
Yeah. Yeah, it totally did.
So they had a little motor they put on the back of the salami. Yeah, the prop master on this one probably had a fun day with that one, I'm sure.
Just something so goofy about the way it just plunks into the side of the boat.
Yes.
It's like thud.
Yeah, you hear that nice satisfying thud as it hits the side of the boat. So the rest of the content begins to surface. The rest of the content of the picnic basket begins to surface, and they decide to drop a marker and go back and find some divers to dive down and look at the wreckage, because now they have assumed that the submarine has been crushed and is sunk. But Kate still is suspicious, so she continues to look, and she notices a seaplane, and then the sub surfaces at this point. And then this is the strangest line. I looked all over the internet to try to find if there's anything about this, but Taylor declares they didn't blow up. It's the old Conrad Veidt trick.
Yeah.
And I can't find anything about Conrad Veidt. I mean, if that's an actual...
It's an act, Conrad Veidt. He was the German actor who always played like the Nazi. And he was Major Strasser in Casablanca. He always played like the Nazi kind of guy.
Okay.
I think he was Strasser in Casablanca, but I assume he was in some like submarine movie or something. They mentioned him twice. When they were escaping in the sub, the crooks were like, Conrad Veidt couldn't do it any better. So they must have thought that was like a hilarious like reference to make, or that like anybody would get it. It was so weird.
So the thieves are making a beeline to the plane. I don't know why they decided to surface. They should have stayed under, but they surfaced.
Yeah.
So Pepe the pilot is dressed like a World War I flying ace.
Like Launchpad McQuack.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it's an enclosed plane, so none of that's needed. And now this part, I did laugh at this part. So Pepe's wife is the hostess of the plane. And as everyone gets on the plane, she says, "Welcome aboard Trans-Mexican Airways. I'm your hostess, Martha Ramirez. Coffee, tea, or tequila?" And she does it 4 times.
Every
she does it twice
time,
to Harry.
yeah.
And Harry declares as he gets on, and she does it to him a second time. He said, I heard you the first time," and gets on the plane.
Yeah. Did you catch what Max says to her? Max says,
No, what did he say?
He says, "How about buttermilk?"
Oh man.
So
What does that mean?
I don't.
Something harder than tequila, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, who thought that was funny? I don't get it.
I mean, I think it's funny, but I don't know why
Yeah,
they thought
but-
it was funny.
So at this point, the plane begins to take off, and they got too much weight. So they have to start tossing stuff overboard. And there's a couple of jokes about throwing the parachutes overboard. And I can't remember, do they throw the parachutes or don't they?
Oh yeah, yeah.
They do, yeah.
Okay. And
They
then,
go out and then they're like, "What was that? Oh, the parachutes! Ah, oh no!"
So then they accidentally throw the picnic basket overboard. And the plane immediately takes off like that's the one thing
Right.
that this 5-pound picnic basket was the difference. So then that's when we hear Mr. Roper say, "Forget it, Harry. Those are the brakes." As Harry realizes that he's just thrown this picnic basket over. And then it was this. I remember as a kid thinking this was strange, but that's when Harry turns and says, "Maybe the movie is good," and pulls down this little tiny screen from the ceiling. And I thought, what a cool little airplane. It's got a little film projector in the back they can watch movies on. And that really stuck to me as a kid.
Yeah.
So back on the cutter, Taylor is pleased. So and declares that Garland is, in fact, Torpedo Tommy's son. And Kate tries on a diamond ring and wishes it was her engagement ring.
This.
And this was really just weak.
Yes.
It gets stuck on her finger, and Garland suggests that she just keeps it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that as, like, now they're getting married, which, again, goes back to my whole, how much time has passed? Because, like, it has to be, like, a week tops.
Well, I mean,
They've gone from hating each other to kissing to now getting married.
In Elvis movies, this scans completely correctly, you know.
Totally.
Lackadaisical proposal, maybe a kiss at the end over a matter of a few days, and you're married. So, to me, that's fine.
But yeah, it totally was like a backhanded like proposal. Totally.
It was very weak. Very weak. Why don't you keep it? It's so weak.
It's evidence, but you can have it. I won't tell. The movie ends now with the cutter cutting through the water, and we see a freeze frame, and then what do we see but the submarine, and the boat is getting ready to run over it.
Yeah, what is that?
And
I would
What
never see it happen.
is the deal with that? It seems so weird.
Very
his-
Inception-like.
He's like, "Oh, my jinx is finally over."
That's right. I forgot
there we
about
go.
that. Yes.
He's like, "Thank you for breaking my jinx. It's finally over." And then it cuts to, not quite.
And so did
But-
in real life that boat hit the submarine? Because it looked like there was no way it didn't.
I guess
It had to
did.
have, yeah.
I thought the same thing.
It had to
I
be
mean,
a
it-
prop. I mean, at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like, I don't know.
Balsa wood.
Balsa
submarine.
wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even if it was a real submarine, that boat would have plunked it like it was a log. I mean, it wouldn't have done any damage
Right.
to the boat itself. I mean, so that wraps it up.
Yeah. So what do we think? Boatniks.
I mean, my overall impression, I mean, obviously it had some bad parts, clearly. But I mean, I thought by and large, I mean, I was entertained. But maybe I was more entertained over the nostalgia that I grew up watching it. So.
Yeah, I will say I was entertained as well. The stuff with them trying to figure out, the bad guys trying to figure out how to sail, that kind of stuff was a total drag. But everything else, once it like actually started moving along, and there were just so many weird little bits of business that they interjected in. So, it was at least, I don't know, I found it entertaining.
Andy?
I'm going to say I stand by my initial assessment, which is I hated this movie, and I was glad it was over. It was very hard to watch.
So what did you hate the most about it? What was it that really set you off?
I thought it was boring. I didn't think any of the gags were all that funny, except for the few that I noted. I thought it was just slow. It didn't make much sense. I didn't really care about any of the characters. I thought it was just really weak plot in general.
I think it would have done a lot better if it had focused on one or the other. Mm-hmm. Like focused on the Navy guys or the Coast Guard guys or the crooks instead of going back and forth between
there's a
two.
lot of back and forth.
It was very jarring with the editing.
Because like if you're interested in what's happening to Garland, then going back to like the antics of like, again, the sailing stuff is just like dragging in mud. And so, yeah, I think they should have gone one way or the other.
All right, boys, it's time to rate this thing. And as always, we use our unique rating system to each movie. And we go down through certain subjects and rate them on a 1 to 4 scale. Robert, what do you think our scale should be today?
Well, it was a movie about boating, and it had some weird boating twists, and I think and if you watch the trailer for the movie, they even play this angle up, even though it only had about 2 seconds worth of screen time. But I think we're going to need to rate this thing with salami torpedoes.
Sounds good to me, because it's like, Boffo, like a salami torpedo of a movie,
It's band name, Salami Torpedoes.
Some good inertia to it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. A salami torpedo to the gut.
That's right.
Of emotion.
So what's our scale?
So 1 to 4 salami torpedoes. And we'll start off with plot and writing. What do we have? I'll start. I will say... I'm going to give it a 1. But maybe I'll give it a 2. I'll give it a 2 because I think that there was a lot left that could have been kind of put together a little bit better, and it could have made it a lot better movie. I mean, I think there are a lot of good things there that were kind of left undone, so it was a little sloppy, but there were a lot of clever moments in the plot.
I'm going to say 2 as well. I thought, for very similar reasons. I thought there were a few clever moments. There's a few sight gags that I got a good laugh out of. It was a little repetitive with some of the writing, but it certainly wasn't good for a 3. But I don't think it was at the bottom of bad writing either.
I disagree. I'm going to give it a 1. That's all the reasons I've already said.
All right, Michael, you're going to be the tiebreaker here.
I'm going to give it a 1 for quality and another 1 for weirdness. So I'll give it a 2 total because there were just so many, like Andy, the lines that Andy quoted, which were just like, what does that even mean? I love that kind of stuff. So I'll add it up to a 2 for me. I mean, the guy was locked into the bathroom.
That was good.
And his wife didn't want to admit it.
Yeah.
I'd give it a 2 based on that alone.
I think the real thing here is going to be, when is Andy going to come off of a 1?
Yeah.
Because
we'll get it. It'll happen.
We'll get there.
It'll happen.
Well, I feel like you have to go on a weighted scale because, I mean, like, none of these are going to be like Singing in the Rain or Casablanca or whatever.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah. So you got to like spread that scale out a little bit, give it room to breathe.
Yeah, I didn't come into this movie looking to hate it or anything. It's just my initial reaction. That's how I felt.
All right.
No, I'm not arguing.
Okay, and what about casting? I'll start off again, and I will say I'm a little bit troubled by the casting because I will say a 2 because there's so many great actors, but my problem with it is I thought Robert Morse as the lead was kind of problematic. I wanted to like him because of the Mad Men connection, but something about him was just a little bit stiff and again, not really believable as a romantic lead. And then the guys, the henchmen being so over the top. Maybe that's not a casting issue, but an acting issue. So I will say a 2.
I'll go with that as well. 2.
You thought so? See, I thought 1 because I thought Robert Morse was bad and just and stiff. And I feel like if they had casted a better actor in that role, I think it would have made the movie.
It could have made it a lot better. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm trying to think of like who from their like docket of people would have been a good alternative to that. But
I mean, I keep thinking of Dick Van Dyke as like a major star that would have been good in that role, or somebody like Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah,
I'd be interested to see who they offered it to. If it was always Robert Morse, or if if he was further down the list.
Yeah, because I don't think he did any other Disney stuff.
No, he didn't. It feels like they checked. They couldn't get anybody.
Yeah,
on
like
board.
he was mostly like a Broadway guy
of the stable.
Yeah, and like he was mostly a stage actor, so it was kind of weird for him to be in it anyway. I don't know. I'd probably give it a 2 for all the random little character actor parts. But I agree that Robert Morse was kind of a weird choice, especially opposite Stefanie Powers, of all people.
So we got 3 2s and 1 1 for that one.
I meant to look up the guy who played, what's his name, who was going around the world on the dinghy, because he seemed
Mitchell.
like Mr. Mitchell. He seemed like a guy who had to have probably been in a million different things. He just had the weird face for it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
Okay, so that leads us to acting. Robert, you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, it was probably a 1. I mean, I felt like the thieves could have taken it down a notch. Like you were saying earlier, and we're going over the plot, that it felt like they were trying to be like, they couldn't figure out what they were going to be. Were they going to be the Three Stooges or something else? So it was. I mean, and then Robert Morse was real stiff. So I mean, I gave acting a 1.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I just think of like all the super awkward, like the trying to speak to the Japanese girl that was just so painful.
Yeah.
And then the sailing stuff. So yeah, all that was pretty rough.
I'm going to give 4 salamis to the nutty sailor for the ooh, because I mean, he just really, I mean, I believed that.
He nailed it.
Yeah, everything else, I'm going to go a little higher than you guys. I'm going to give it a 2 for acting.
What?
Okay.
I thought, even though I did not like some of the overacting, I still thought they played, for what roles they were doing, I thought they were decent.
And I'm going to go back to 1. I'm going to go back down to 1 because, like the thieves really got on my nerves. The main guy, what was it, Harry? I just thought it was way too over the top. And it was distracting almost. I don't know.
All right.
Production value. This is an interesting one because,
Yeah, this is.
there's a lot to grade on here.
I'll give it a 3 on that because I mean they shot a lot on location and they did. I mean, it was nothing super fancy, but it must have required a lot of coordination to do all that sailing stuff. And, it is California, but even shooting on location, a lot of their movies, other Disney movies, were they shot on sound stages all the time. So it was really rare for them to do something that was this much on location. So I'll give them a 3 for effort.
Yeah, I had a 3 as well. I thought, for this the coordination of the stunts alone, as we pointed out. I mean, doing those boat stunts was not easy, and it wasn't like they had like just boats parked and then they were weaving between them. They were weaving between boats that were coming together. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that they had to get just right, and of all the things that they spent a lot of time on, it seems that they spent a lot of time on that instead of other aspects of the movie. But I think for the production value, I'd give it a 3 as well.
I don't know. For me, it's like you guys, the boat stuff. I thought that was like it took some talent to do that, but at the same time, this underwater stuff is a 1. So I'm going to balance it out and just say a 2.
I agree with Andy. I think the underwater gets a letter grade lower or a number lower.
Was it more of the time though? Because I mean, it wasn't like they could do a lot. I mean, I guess they wrote those scenes and they had to do something, so they had to use models to do the submarine underwater, and then they had to shoot somewhere in a tank for the other scenes,
Right.
the diving scenes. But
the breadth of the production is kind of impressive, like you said, on set, which is or like on location, because all that stuff was on soundstage. So I mean, and they tried to do a lot, so gotta give them credit for that. So the last one is entertainment value. Andy?
0. I've already stated my reasons many times. Yeah, just 0. I mean, okay, let me take it back. I really did think the nutty sailor guy, I keep bringing it up, but the third time he crashed in the docking, it's the rule of 3s. At that point, I was letting out some chuckles, and the guys jumping in the water for the lady with her dress caught on the boat. So yeah, I bump it up to 1, but yeah,
I'll give it a 2. I feel it earned that.
yeah, I'll give it a 2 as well. I felt like it so.
Yeah, and I'd probably say a 2. Between a 2 and a 1, it's I think the ambition of it, like what it could have been, is making me want to rate it higher. It could have been an interesting heist movie. It falls short of that, but it's interesting visual fodder, and the gags are flowing. So
I feel like if you cut it, it would be better. Like you could make a cut of it that would be a higher scoring movie if you cut out some of the fat and some of the stuff that goes on too long.
Right.
It wouldn't be like great, but it would be more entertaining, faster moving, I feel like.
Yeah.
Is there a fan edit of this movie somewhere?
Well, now there should be.
Yeah, I think there could be.
We should have a contest.
There
you go. That's a great idea.
I like it.
So that adds up here. The recap here, we have a 1.75 for writing, a 1.75 for casting, a straight up 1 for acting, a 2.5 for production value, and a 1.75 for entertainment value, which gives us a grand total of an overall score of 1.75.
Salami torpedoes. That's pretty high.
Let me do that again
That's
with
kind of
salami.
higher than I thought.
Those salamis were pretty big, so that's like a lot of salami.
Yeah.
For one person.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this: if they redid this movie, they rebooted it today, who do you think? I mean, give me some actors that you think would do well in certain these roles. I mean, for me, the first thing that came to my mind was this is very. It reminded me of a Ben Stiller type. Lead role guy, like Meet the Fockers or whatever.
I could see that.
All those kind of things. But what do you guys think?
I'd say Ben Stiller or
I say this because of the Balboa Pier connection, but I was thinking Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that.
I could see both of those.
And what about the female lead?
That's tough. I'm old and don't know who people are anymore.
I was thinking like
So it's all,
Mila,
these things are always hard for me to do.
like a Mila Kunis is kind of that kind of type of character is kind of came to my mind.
Yeah, it's just
Definitely,
kind of
yeah.
bohemian kind of boat hippie girl.
But who would be the three thieves?
Oh boy.
Adam Sandler.
I think you could take this movie a different way. What if you made it to where the thieves were almost the good guys? They were the funny part, and then the people being chased were the villains.
Oh,
Or
see,
like,
that
you
would
know,
be interesting.
Or
Yeah.
the people chasing them were the villains. That'd be kind of interesting. So, you put Zach Galifianakis and Owen Wilson and, a bunch of other people as the thieves.
Yeah, and then you have somebody really kind of uptight as the Navy guy or the
Yeah,
Coast
you
Guard
go
guy.
that way. That'd be interesting.
Now this making me want to see it as a Wes Anderson movie.
Well, he's already done it though. With the,
Yeah, I
With,
guess, yeah.
Bill Murray as
Life Aquatic.
Commander Taylor.
Exactly,
And,
exactly.
So Bill Murray is Commander
Jason
Taylor.
Schwartzman could be the Robert Morse character. Garland.
Good.
Oh yeah, you've got the Wilson brothers as the thieves and somebody else.
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman would be the old commander.
Yeah,
well,
or
Gene
he could
Hackman-
appear as the dad, as Torpedo.
Oh,
Whatever.
Yeah.
And then you'd move if you did the commander. You could move Bill Murray over to the Dolce Vita guy.
Oh, perfect.
Yes. Perfect. Perfect. And Gwyneth Paltrow as Kate.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, done. I think we applied the Wes Anderson model to it.
Man,
works.
I would watch that movie in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Boatniks.
Well, to close out, obviously, anybody who's listening to this, we'd love to hear your thoughts on Boatniks.
I bet that sentence has never been said before. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Boatniks.
Yeah. To me, I don't know. Maybe this is it was probably as I expected. It was interesting how familiar it was with the Disney vernacular of this period, but it was kind of a strange oddball at the same time. And maybe that's just because I haven't seen it before, but
Well, it didn't have any of like the total regulars.
yeah,
It was just like a little. It was like a little off.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, they didn't have the regular cast that you usually see in Disney movies.
Like you'd have Tim Conway and Don Knotts in the submarine or whatever.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
that would have been a lot better.
I gotta wonder if they were approached. Yeah, one of those guys had to have been approached, and there had to have been a scheduling conflict.
They could have been busy. They were cranking them out.
I guess my other question would be like, is this? I mean, obviously it's a play on words of beatniks, but like, is there any kind of beatnik tie into this? Is it just
Not at all. I couldn't find
throw
anything.
away
No.
term? Yeah.
Well, even more than that, I was thinking about this, and like it's such a like an old like California old like Republican guy joke to like joke about beatniks in like 1970.
Right.
That's like all these kind of crusty old Disney guys are like, oh, those beatniks. And they were like 20 years late on the joke, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But it also made me think of there's an episode of Mystery Science Theater called The Beatniks. And one of the jokes the guys make are like, these aren't beatniks. They're not even boatniks. So I always thought of that when I think of boatniks.
Andy, what do you think? You liked it?
I mean,
You changed your mind?
Yeah, yeah. You guys have convinced me.
All right, I'm
This is
convinced.
a great
We'll see you
movie.
guys later.
Yeah. No, yeah. Same opinion applies.
If you want to check the previous 100 minutes or however long we've been on. All right, so that concludes our the Boatniks review and discussion, and we're on to coming up. Our season 1 is going to officially begin. Robert, what do we have coming down the pipe?
We have for us on our next episode, we're going to launch this podcast officially with the Disney classic from 1961, The Absent-Minded Professor.
And I'm hoping that this one is going to break Andy's streak of being a Scrooge. This one is a bona fide Disney classic. So,
Is this Flubber?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Flubber. Yeah, this is
not the Robin
yeah.
Williams first.
Oh, okay. So there's one before that.
Get into.
That was a remake? I didn't know that was a remake.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
There was also one with Harry Anderson in the 1980s.
That's right.
That's
For
right.
TV.
I court Harry
Wow.
Anderson.
Forgot about that.
This one doesn't have like gelatinous butts dancing around in it. I hate to tell you.
That's what I was thinking about too. For fun.
I'm excited to watch this again, just in general, but especially with this context.
If Andy flushes this one, then we're lost.
Well,
Yeah.
and Andy's lost because Andy's got a long, hard road to hoe.
Yeah, he's
but
got some really hard movies to watch.
I do. I'm along for the ride, though. It's going to be fun.
So yeah, stay tuned for that, and then we've got a whole season planned of exciting titles that we have planned on, and again, we accept suggestions. So on behalf of all of us here at the Medfield College Film Society, we persevere, looking for higher rated movies on the next one. Until then, we will see you all later.
Alma Mater dear, all your sons and daughters hail to thee. Medfield College of Technology, and while we hold your banner high, rock, rock, we shout your praises to the sky, rock, rock, for proud are we of mighty Medfield, loyally we cheer. Medfield, Medfield, rah, 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 our alma mater dear.
Boatniks.